Welcome to Deep Thought. Is your philosophy working for you? Now, I talked about philosophies on a general scale, macro scale in my last podcast, but this is your personal philosophy, and every single person got one. Let me say it again, every single person got one. It's a way that they choose to look at the world. Like I used the example of veganism in my last one. I mean, you could be the type who decide, hey, you're not going to eat meat. Okay, and that's cool. Or you could be the type who you want to be a minimalist. That's a philosophy where you want to limit, how much stuff you got around you, how much clutter you have around you. That's a philosophy. Or your philosophy could be being flashy and stuff. That's a philosophy. Being stylish, having that dip, having that swag. Well, nowadays they say the dip and all of that. That's a philosophy. When I talk body game on my men's channel for working out and everything, a man developing his body. That's a philosophy. Okay, that's fine. And everybody got one. In fact, most people got several, if you want to be honest. Most people got several. They follow them because we're all complex. We might follow a religious philosophy on one hand, but an economic philosophy that actually contradicts that religious philosophy, we might have that philosophy of, hey, money is to be spent as soon as you get it. But then somebody else has a philosophy of saving the money. It's so many different things. But here's the question. Is your philosophy working for you? Because, see, here's the thing. Even though I said everybody has a philosophy and really several philosophies, a lot of us also follow the crowd. We don't develop our own thing. We don't consciously say, okay, well, this is a religion we're going to practice. This is the economic thing we're going to practice. This is a relationship style we're going to practice. A lot of people don't. They follow it. They don't think about it. They're not conscious about it. They don't think about it. It's still a philosophy, but they just follow it. Because remember I said in the last episode, you get a lot of groups that try to impose their philosophy on the world around them. I mean, indeed, history that's a thing in history. If you look at many wars, there are wars between, like actual physical wars, they're wars between philosophies. Been people trying to enforce it on people, right? And so a lot of people are following something that doesn't suit who they are. So the question you have to ask yourself is, the way I'm thinking, is my mindset, is a philosophy I'm following actually working for me? And that's a serious question. You see, that's one you can't ask somebody else to tell you. You got to know whether it's working for you or not. Is your philosophy of partying every weekend and, traveling, popping those bottles and everything, is that really working for you? And if it is, hey, that's actually good. If it's working for you, because it could work. It could work for you. I'm going to get more into like a person's nature and what could work for them in the next one. But yeah, it could work for you. But then it might not. Because really, I'm going to tell you what, and I will say this. Even though I don't impose my views on anybody, I have seen that when I look at people, they having trouble, you can base it on how they think. You can base it on their philosophy. Because if you pay attention to them, you're like, I don't know. They might be like, their philosophy might be conspicuous consumption. Like in the black community, particularly talking about upper class blacks who might derivatively be known as the black bourgeoisie, a big part of their plan, especially before the civil rights era, was to spend money conspicuously. They were making money to spend money conspicuously. That was part of it, conspicuous consumption, to look like they had something going on to combat the racism, to combat the perception that they were poor. And, it might have made them feel good, but then the question is, did it really work for them? Because now it's, the term, more colloquial term would be keeping up with the Joneses. You have a lot of people who still do that to this day, and they spend all this money, but then they in heavy debt. How's that working for them? Yeah, you looking good, you keeping up with the Joneses and stuff, but you didn't need all that stuff. You didn't need that boat in your yard. You didn't need that expensive car. You didn't need to pave over your driveway just to look good like the next person. That's conspicuous consumption. Is that philosophy working for you? And that's just an example. That's not like people gonna do it regardless, but that's just an example. You doing like your philosophy could be, being that cool person that just follows the crowd or something. Is that working for you? For some people it might, some other people it might not. How many people out here, how many women out here are wearing some clothes or wearing the type of shoes or something that's actually uncomfortable for them, but that's what everybody else is doing. They're wearing some hair weaves or something like that. Everybody else is doing it. And they're following their own taste and everything. I want y'all to think about that. Why do we really do the stuff that we do? Is it working? Is this philosophy that you adopted, is it working? Are you happy with it? That's the key thing. Are you happy with it? Let me use that conspicuous consumption thing again. If you're actually happy with it, hey, cool. Killing your savings and everything. But, man, at the end of the day, you got to follow what works for you. It might work for somebody else. It might actually work for somebody else. As y'all can hear, it probably don't work for Rom. Yeah, I could care less what other people want. I really could. But, it's something to think about. Everybody need to think. Is what I'm doing working for me? Is what I'm doing working for me? And you got to look at it. And like I said, a lot of people, they might have one major philosophy. They might have several. Sometimes, and here's the thing. Sometimes, following those, like say somebody got like 7 major philosophies that they have intertwined within their character, within their consciousness. All right, say 6 of them work well for them, but then it's that one that's holding them back. Let me say that again. It's that one that's holding them back. And that's what they had to look at. So one of the things I would suggest, everybody, they need to look at their lives. And be like, is this working for me? Is this working for me? Is this working for me? If this not working for me, you got to change it. Because, see, that's the beauty of any philosophy. A thought pattern. You can change it at any time. Because even if you're, for spiritual people, religious people who follow those philosophies, the one thing you got to say is your version of God allows you free will, free choice. That means if you got free will from a supreme being, you got free will from yourself, for yourself. So you need to look at everything you're doing and ask yourself those tough questions. I want y'all to think on that one, okay? And I'll get back with y'all. Peace and blessings.